And gentlemen, I'd like to call this meeting of the West Allis, West Milwaukee School Board to order. Ooh, got a new pathway here. Jane, would you lead us in the pledge tonight, please? Thank you. And Sarah, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Becker,
Here.
Mr. Keller,
Here.
Ms. Carr,
Here.
Mr. Verbos,
Here.
Mr. Lee,
Here.
Mr. Tolani,
Present.
Ms. Dill,
Here.
Ms. Lee,
Here.
President Burns.
Present. Proper notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the open meeting laws of Wisconsin, of the state of Wisconsin, sorry. Are there any modifications to the agenda tonight?
There are no modifications.
All right, then at this time, I would ask for a motion to adopt the agenda.
Move to adopt the agenda.
Second.
All right. Are there any questions on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so that is adopted. So that will move us right into our student showcase. Tonight we have our Deeper Learning Virtual Academy, or DLVA, student showcase. So please feel free to come on up and get yourself started. And then the only thing, as you're speaking, please make sure that the green light on the mic is lit up so the people that are watching digitally can hear you. And it's just push the button and on and off either way. Yep.
Okay. So first of all, thank you so much for letting us come here and present to all of you this evening. We really appreciate the opportunity. My name is Dr. Smith, and I'm going to be just getting us started on the student showcase. This is Maya Salim, so she's an 11th grader at Deeper Learning Virtual Academy, and she'll be picking up the second half of the presentation to go through her project. Start with our theory of action. So it starts with talking about implementing teaching with intent, which we certainly used very closely this school year with everything that we planned and all the structural components that we integrated into the year. We were having a little bit of a struggle with our testing numbers. So our first goal was to increase our test numbers. So we really can't get the data to know how to help our students if we aren't able to get them screened with our state test assessments. So the goal was to have 100% of our students show typical or aggressive growth in reading and math as measured by FastBridge. Also, like I said, one of our goals is our FAYs to increase the number of students that we're testing to 100%. I'll go a little more into that later in the presentation, and that all students will be at 3 or higher in the value-added evaluation on the state report card. So again, we really spent a lot of time with teaching with intent this school year, and we continue to. Teaching with intent was the foundation of both our 20% synchronous instruction and our 80% asynchronous support model. So it wasn't just our instructional framework, and that was a big part of the 20% synchronous coaching that I did. But we also have been doing a lot of professional development around how it's an equity-centered tool, and it allows us to ensure clarity, access, and meaningful experiences for our students and families. The school uses Adjournment as the primary learning tool. So that's our learning management system. Through that, we developed a learning intention for just Adjournment and success criteria. So those will be the first two pieces of the teaching with intent framework. What's really great about the success criteria is we found 4 components that would ensure success if the student was able to complete all those things, right? But what's even better about that is conversations with our families become so much more meaningful. And this is a way to restore access to our families when we're having a disconnect between what's going on with the student and the progress we're trying to see. Now, part of this was increasing our test participation, and I'm pretty proud of this data. So between the 23-24 school year and the 24-25 school year, we fully implemented a new system in the school. So you can see we went from about 27% tested to 97% tested for pre-ACT this school year. For ACT, in 23-24, we had about 47% tested. This year, 93% tested. We've tested 100% of our middle school students for forward and 100% of our 10th graders for forward as well. And all of like that, all that foundational work that we did, we've seen the benefits of that in our graduation data as well. So 23-24, with summer school, we only graduated about half of our senior class. This year, we're anticipating 100% of our seniors to graduate without summer school. And that will be the largest graduating class we've ever had in Deeper Learning Virtual Academy history, which I know this is our 5th year, so the history, but you know what I mean. I'm still really proud of the work that we've done in such a short amount of time, and how from 23-24 to 24-25, the implementation of our systems and working with consultants and subject matter experts allowed us to see such enormous growth. And obviously, my staff had a big part of that as well. Just to follow up on last year when we met about, well, when we got our reduced credit pathway approved, I just wanted to give you some of that data. That to this year, our largest class is 33, and 73% of them are going to graduate with 24 credits. 15% is the GED option 2, and 12% was the reduced credit pathway. And currently, we're anticipating 100% to graduate without summer school. We projected what the next school year would look like. About 76% will be 24 credit pathway, because we are still always prioritizing 24 credits for our students. We're anticipating about 24% reduced credit pathway. It's really hard to say go to right now. We need to review FastBridge scores, and we need to, they need to be tested. The on track to graduate is a little low because we looked at summer school. So we have to see how summer school goes, but we have already started the process for summer school and the outreach and the phone calls and the filling out the forms and all that good stuff. Okay, so Maya's project, and Maya's going to speak in just a moment. Let me just give a little intro to Maya's project. So as you know, Edgenuity serves as our core curriculum platform, and that, presents some challenges when it comes to doing something like this. So Maya did reach out to me about something she was feeling very passionately about, and I then, it ended up her advisory teacher was the one who mentored her through this project. So Maya completed an extension writing project about a topic she found interesting to provide additional practice aligned to the ELA priority standards. The project was completed in collaboration with her advisory teacher, that's Ms. Skiba. She's actually our teacher of the year. She is amazing and deserves all the shout outs. And later, this project will be shared with our school community. We have Tuesday, Thursday advisory sessions. This work aligns with our final theory of action goal of achieving a value-added score of 3 or higher on the state report card. And now I'm going to let Maya take it away because I've talked enough.
Thank you for having me here today. So I did a slideshow using surveys and students' responses. This is a project that means a lot to me. So thank you for allowing me to share this with you guys today. Yeah. Today I mastered the priority standard writing 3, which is organization, transitions, and word choices. For this portrait of graduate, the voice I used 2, your voice is your power, own it and achieve it. I believe I choose these out of the rest because I found a problem and I decided to have some goals set and decided to have this problem fixed and talked about. So just a summary of my slideshow. It's a teen stress and wellness presentation. I decided that mental health can be measured with data, and this can help having the best outcomes for students. Instead of creating more programs, we can somewhat find different ways that we can prioritize our students' learning and stress. Ready? Yeah, okay. So why does this matter to me? So our school talks about mental health and we have very good resources. but I feel like we can maybe measure mental health with data, because there are choices that are made without student data, and kind of having student perspective on things can help create a much better routine for students instead of more programs. I wanted to understand stress beyond feelings, assumptions, through real numbers, real patterns, and students' perspective and voices. So here I created a survey. I asked about 5 questions. Here's just 3. What type of support would actually help you? Anything else you want the school board to know? And how often do you feel stressed during the school week? And this is shared across our school. I kind of just posted this and said that it was anonymous, anyone can respond to it. So I got feedback from students across schools. Here's the data that I got from 11 responses from students. I used qualitative coding and quantitative analysis. So for our graph here, we have 54.5 responses from the almost every day, and a few like yellow and red and green responses, but mostly our graph here is showing that students are stressed almost every day of the school week. So from the survey that I used, I found 4 findings. First, non-academic stressors are huge. Uncertainty causes more stress and difficulty. Students want structured changes, not coping workshops, and time of day stress spikes. So for my survey, I didn't put anything into organizations. I just let the students share what they felt, and the students, they put their responses in their own categories. Some of them said, oh, well, I just feel like there's so much schoolwork. I'm kind of like not getting enough sleep. I'm awake overnight. I also have work. So kind of just prioritizing all of that together can sometimes be hard. My recommendation that would help students, teachers can like make a student communication feedback loop. So like what I did here today, we can use data, teachers can use data. Just a simple question like, what part of workload felt most overwhelming? Students can respond, and during all of those feedbacks, teachers can adjust pacing using real students' input. There's a quote that I have here. This is from an actual student. Should I read that?
Sure.
So this student said that the pressure that is put on me from my parents, teachers, coaches, and myself, the workload can be overbearing, and many times it's hard to balance everything on your own. So here's another thing I also had listed: help without pressure systems. Anonymous from students can submit anytime they feel overwhelmed. This can help the problem students don't ask for help when needed, or even when they need it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, before we open up to the board, Devin, could you just expound us a tad bit on some strategies you use to improve your numbers? Because I think we talked about the numbers, but I want the board to hear some of the actions and strategies that you guys undertook to get those numbers.
I think a lot of things, so I'm going to try to be concise, right? So we created a strategic like outreach plan where we took, and we also restructured our entire teaching staff, right? So it was no longer like a middle school and a high school, because our high school was so heavy, like 90 students and with only like 2 teachers, just wasn't reasonable. And we weren't able to support students the way they deserve to be supported. So we started with restructuring the entire teaching staff, right? So now we have a science teacher, social studies teacher, math teacher, English teacher back there, and right there. And then we created something called our roundtable spreadsheet, which is like the heart of our school. And we have these like mixed cohorts for advisory, and the teachers have a 2-week outreach cycle. So no matter what, over a 2-week period, every family student should hear from the teacher every single 2 weeks. Now, right, some students need more support than that, so they're going to get more outreach, but everyone is going to get at least an attempt once every 2 weeks. And I think that was one of the big things. In addition to that, we created a proprietary credit tracker, and we sit down as a staff and we go through transcripts, we go through credits, and we talk about it together. We make plans together. We also, through our PLC work, look at our Edgenuity data. So we started to evaluate, this is more of a holistic look at our school, right? So we are looking at pacing and we're looking at mastery, 2 things we track every single week. So the teachers give me their core data, and then I do the analysis. And then we talk about what we see, and we're like, are we in red level? Are we at yellow level, right? We want our pacing to be, we want students, we don't want to have more than 30% of our students in the red. If we see more than 30% of the students in red, like what are the actions that we're all going to take? And that kind of leads us then into our PBIS matrix that we're going to make, right? When we start to standardize those actions of red, yellow, green. So that's going to all lead into that work. And we were just talking about that today. And then we regularly roundtable on our students, and then on Wednesday mornings, we have a participation meeting. So I guess like in general, I could give you a lot of details, but what we do is we have these standardized meeting times. We're talking about our students, we're looking at data, sometimes student data, like a certain student's name, or sometimes we're looking at how is our whole school doing. Or like what has come from some of those meetings is, okay, there's certain courses that most of our students are struggling with. Now, what are our actions to support those students? So I hope I'm answering your question, Dr. Robinson, because I could go on for quite a while. I wasn't anticipating.
I know with the federal joint notification, this was some of the things that you guys had to do as a school. I just wanted to make sure that we articulated what those strategies were, because I think when we're looking at these numbers, we're impressed, but there's a story behind that.
Yeah.
I just really wanted you to tell that story.
Yeah.
Because it's not an easy thing to do, especially in a virtual environment. So what I'm hearing is you had to come up with system-wide strategies in around staying in touch with your students and developing relationships between your staff and your kids.
It's
and
foundational.
which in entail would also create the confidence that Maya has to be here tonight, right? So just kind of bringing all of that together, and where the board can understand the direction that you're going as a principal of the school. And then it's evident in some of the work that we're seeing, well, not only in our numbers improving, but also the product that she's ready to do a real.
She's ready to do dissertation.
A real
That's what I was thinking. I'm like,
yeah, I mean, I saw mixed methods all over this.
I know.
Study, so that's impressive. So I just wanted to just bring it up.
So to your point, like just, and maybe in all educational spaces, but I'm just going to speak to my like particular model of education. Like the phone call is such a high leverage practice. And so we really prioritize picking up the phone and talking like real talk. And how did we get those test numbers? And phone calls. And I'd make them too. Like, I don't just expect my staff to do that. Like, I'm there making the phone calls. We're tracking it on our roundtable spreadsheet. I can see what everyone else said to everyone. We have a standardized outreach form. I can see all of the outreach, so I honestly, it's the consistency, yes, of like the relationships we're building, especially with a group that is more reluctant to be like in a space like that, right? And during the testing season, we did whatever we could to get to make the students feel comfortable, welcomed, and to come and take their tests. And as you could see from my data, we struggled when we didn't know. We didn't know the system. We developed the system, and it worked really quickly. But I am very good at badgering people. I've gotten very, very, very good. And I'm not afraid to pick up the phone and call any of my families. And I would welcome them to call me at any time as well.
All right. So then questions, comments from the board? Ms. Deal?
More a comment. I just, I work in the mental health field, so I think this is an incredibly important subject. So I love that you brought this up and brought attention to it. But I also just wanted to, say that while I was watching your presentation, I was like taken back to like college. Like that's the level that you were presenting at.
Thank
I
you.
mean, that like when I took, I'm a psychology major, and so we had to take, research study or whatever, research methods and all that. And literally that's what it took me back to. So I just want to say that was incredibly impressive, and you did a great job on that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Talani?
As an educator myself who's done Edgenuity in the virtual world, 5 years ago, kudos to you and your team for figuring out how to do virtual school well. Because in the system, I thought Edgenuity can be very, very challenging and very intimidating for students that don't feel supported, and give you kudos to you and your team for making it seem easy. So
I'm glad we make it look. I'm glad we make it
less daunting, maybe that's a better word.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Thank you.
Other questions, comments from the board? Ms. Carr?
Well, as someone who attends the graduation every year, 33 graduates is very impressive. Yeah, because I've been to, I think, all of them. And, there was not nearly, I don't even think half of that. And so really that speaks volumes.
Thank you. All right, anyone else? Mr. Becker, sure.
Thanks very much for coming out. Thanks for the presentation. I saw the response rate was 11 students. Could you tell us how many students was that reaching out to? Was that to the whole high school DLVA, or is it other campuses?
So I didn't have like this teachers have it in their classrooms or anything. That's why the graph is kind of low. So from my end, I only could have caught like 11 real students respective in responses. So basically I put this on like social media. I asked students who are free to have the time to make this to record their responses in. It would mean a lot, and it would be helpful for our school board. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? No? Okay. Maya, I had a question for you. You're in 11th grade?
Yes.
Have you been in DLVA for a while?
Yeah. For my freshman year, I went to Central.
For Central, so 2 years then with DVL,
Yes.
deeper learning, yeah, DLVA, sorry. Have you seen the change that we're talking about and then has brought you to this space?
Could you explain a little more?
Sure. So we talked numbers and how scores have improved and how it sounds like the rigor of the work has improved. Have you noticed a difference as a student on how teachers and other students are interacting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So you're seeing it too. Has it been helpful for you?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
really comfortable.
Okay. All right. Good. And then the only other thing that I wanted to ask you is with this presentation that you did, is this kind of where you're looking to go? They're talking dissertations and theses and all that other kind of stuff, but is this what interests you as you move into the wider world?
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Do you want to tell them what you want to do after school?
So after school, I wanted to maybe work in robotics, mechanical robotics. So that's basically kind of just selling surgical parts. So I think mental health is definitely something that's important in the real world and in these type of jobs.
Mhm. Absolutely. Cool. That's awesome. Yeah, no, thank you very much. And thank you for sharing and being up there all on your own as the student showcase. So well done. Thank you so much. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right. And as we move to our next item, that'll take us to our superintendent's report. So once we're all set up for that, who do you need me to call anybody?
Officer Herpen, would you come on up? So as I do complete the superintendent's report tonight, I just wanted to start out. We did have some news out of Madison, and I wanted to kind of share with the public before we go on. Hopefully there's been an agreement on some sort of reallocation of funds from the state level. We're waiting on more information, but they have reached an agreement that includes $600 million in investment in K-12 education, featuring the largest increase to the special education reimbursement rate in state history and $300 million in general school aid intended to help reduce property taxes. So the agreement also includes $50 million in support for Wisconsin Technical College as well. So just hopefully all sides will finally agree and we'll have a little bit of relief. Mr. Norris is anxiously waiting on what that means as far as money-wise, personally, as far as our school is concerned. So, it's good news. It's good news any way you slice it. We have a bit of a celebrity here, and I just wanted to bring him on up right now. Not talking about Officer Herpin. We're talking about Kane. And I had to get some stuff out of the way because I figured once we brought him up, nobody's going to be paying attention to me anymore. And so, Officer Herpin, you want to just tell us where you are as far as like, how's it going? Just give us an update if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right.
It's great.
I'll come sit, Kane. I'll take the tough job.
Yeah, you could take it. Yeah. Can you sit? There you go. We'll see how. Yeah, it's been great. The school's been receiving Kane extremely well. I couldn't even tell you how much the engagement alone has increased with these kids. We have kids that have been so secluded and kind of, behind the scenes when it comes to school, just, their studies, their activities inside and outside of school, and just his presence alone has really increased some of that engagement, where I've seen kids that haven't said a word to staff there that are coming up to me to talk and ask questions, mostly about him, but it's definitely been a barrier breaker where it's opened up a lot of different ways to communicate with these kids, and the support with kids in crisis, the support with kids that are just genuinely interested, and the soon-to-be drug detection. So that training is going to happen in the next couple months here, and that's just going to expand his abilities that much more. And then he'll officially be one of 3 dogs in the country that's therapy certified and drug certified. So really excited about that, but presence alone has just been so huge. Every school in the district, or many schools in the districts, asking about him, tons of questions, just general interest. And the community's been receiving him well. I have every donor that's contributed to him just knocking on our door, asking when we can come and talk about him and just kind of help out at their businesses. But it's been great. And the support's been huge, especially by you guys. I remember back in December coming up in front of you guys to talk about this idea, and here we are, and we're just getting started, we did 7 months of this, 6 months of this. Yeah, it's interesting because he recognizes who the dog people are. And we had a perfect example back here with Jody, where right away, Jody's a dog person. He wants to play. He's like play biting. He's got the softest bite in the world. And then in front of him, immediately like soft, like, I just want you to pet me. I want you to love me. So he's really good about recognizing that, who the dog people are. But yeah, the support's been huge, and I really appreciate everything you guys have been doing as far as backing this whole thing. And again, we're just getting started. It's great. I love it. He loves it. He loves the attention. I don't exist anymore. I'm totally in the background, and I'm okay with that. But yeah, he's great. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Hey, I feel so much calmer.
Yeah.
Play with Kate a little bit.
Yeah.
So I try to make a visit over there at least once a week. It seems like to at least say hello.
Yeah.
To Mr. Thompson, of course. No, really to Kane. I'm really looking for Kane when I'm there. But I did want to recognize Principal Thompson in the back. And who else is here from your team?
Mr.
Gravener. Okay. Thought I saw him in. Okay.
Also playful with Gravener. He recognizes
Gravener,
right
okay.
away he wants to play with
Okay.
Gravener. There's a handful of people like
All
that,
right.
but definitely.
So thank you guys for being
Yeah.
here. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
of course.
The month of May, we have Mental Health Awareness Month. We also have Asian and Pacific American Heritage Month, and Memorial Day will be coming up in 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks. All right. Teacher Appreciation Week. Last week, we celebrated our amazing WAWM staff. and the impact they make on lives of students each and every day. Their dedication, compassion, and commitment to excellence help shape the future of our schools and community. We would also like to thank the many organizations, businesses, families, and community groups who generously provided meals, treats, gifts, and messages of appreciation throughout the week. Special shout out to our comms team for helping as well from a district standpoint and getting things out to our schools. Happy Mother's Day, belated at this particular point, but every day is Mother's Day. So to the mothers that are here on our board, as well to those who are in the audience, I hope yesterday was everything that you wanted it to be. So thank you to all the moms and mother figures who lead with love, support, learning, and inspire every day. We appreciate you today and every day. Yesterday, it's Mother's Day is always a tough one for me personally, but it meant a lot to just send a text message to the ladies in my life who have really filled the gap to provide that motherly love. And so just let my godmother know how much I appreciated her, and Dr. Johnson, who I talk about all the time, who watches all of my meetings. So just those two in particular are just have to give them their shout out. And then, of course, my wife, who's my biggest supporter, my biggest critic. But if I want to know the honest to God truth, I will get it from her, and I appreciate that about her. So just love her to death. And so I just wanted to say that special shout out to all of our mothers today. Other updates, and I won't be long. Had a pretty busy week and a half, so these are all of my meetings for the last couple of weeks and visits. We have this evening Toby Weimer. Toby is a senior at Docky. She's a member and 2-year captain of the Central Dance Team, and she's a senior Girl Scout and Badgerette Pom Camp All-Star. So, Toby, you want to tell us what's going on at Docky?
Yes, so we have our exhibition night coming up. It's in a little less than a month. It is on June 9th, I believe. So make sure to come see that to see all our cool projects. And then Dotkey, our attendance is at an all-time high right now. It is the highest it has ever been. It is, I think, 92.4%, and we're aiming for 93% at least. And then we have the chef, culinary celebrity guy coming on May 19th. I'm not super sure about that, but yeah, he's coming on May 19th, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
I do want to send a shout out to Principal Greg Gales. He knows I have been on him over the last couple of years about that attendance, and so it's good. Every time he sees me, he gives me that number, and so to know that I think our goal for high school was 91%, so they've exceeded that, which is a great thing. So we know that attendance will only improve graduation rates. Like, it just really has a trickle down effect when you talk about improving that one stat. So we really put a lot of emphasis on improving attendance at our school. So thank you, Toby, for that. That concludes my report this evening.
All right. Thank you very much. That will take us to our public comments section at this time. So at this time, if anyone would like to address the board, you may sign up in the back of the room or in the Zoom link in the chat. Introduce yourself with your name and address. You have 3 minutes to provide comments. The board cannot discuss, debate, or act upon any item during the public comments portion of the school board meeting. Follow-up may be provided by the superintendent at the next regularly scheduled board meeting. At this time, I do not see anyone signed up, so I'll hold it open for a moment. See if anyone does sign up. All right, and seeing no one sign up at this time, I will close the public comments section and we will move on to our board reports section, starting with the review of our board calendar, which I closed, so I'll need to open that back up here for a second. All right. And at this time for the calendar, all we have on the docket so far is tonight, May 11th. We have a regularly scheduled board meeting with a teaching and learning workshop for the 612 social studies adoption. And then two, as kind of a switch up because of the Memorial Day coming up, we have another regularly scheduled board meeting on May 18th as well. So next week we'll see you here again. And that is all we have for the board calendar, which will take us to committees, which we have none. So 9.2 is gone. And then that would take us quickly to 9.3, member reports of community events. Does anyone have anything that they would like to share out? Sure. Mr. Verbos.
I was biased and I attended because my child was involved, but I went to the West Dallas Central band performance. The spring band concert's fantastic because you get all the they hand out the varsity letter, like the pins, and they give the recognitions for the seniors that are completing their tenure. And there's some great kids there. There's the one that Frankie talks about. Lilia who joined percussion as a senior and was spectacular and was hugely contributing to them going to state for solo and ensemble with their percussion ensemble. And then they announced the new drum majors and whatnot, which is Shaylin Kenziara, who is Frankie's best friend, who is fantastic. Very excited for that. But it's a cool thing to go to in the spring because it is like that passing of the torch over while recognizing the kids that have put in the time and done a lot of great work. So I did that. That's about it.
Awesome. Thank you. Other board reports. Mr. Talani.
Again, biased. I attended the Jefferson Math Night this past week, and they did a fantastic job. Had to drag my kids out of there 10 minutes past the end time. And then yesterday, my wife and girls attended the Mommy and Me tea night at the rec department. And from everything I saw, it was a fantastic event. And they really kept them engaged for all 2 hours. So kudos to that team as well.
Excellent. Thank you. Others. Yeah, Ms. Deal.
BJ had a joke. I was able to attend, and yes, because both my kids are involved in this, but I was able to attend the Hale band concert and then also the FLW orchestra concert, which are always fabulous. What was really impressive at Hale was they do the same thing, obviously, as Central is. I swear that half of the band got up, like half of the band is graduating. They had like 25 kids up there. It was so impressive. And I believe every single one of those kids had been in band for all 4 years. So they all got the pink cord. It was just it was really cool experience. So a shout out again to our music program. We, our kids are very lucky to have such great teachers. So.
Thank you. Mr. Becker.
Half credit because my kid was there too, but saw the Hale Spring concert, and I can't add to anything more than Ms. Deal just said. It really was nice to see all the seniors honored. Special shout out to Mr. Lesser for calling us out by name, making me duck down and hide. Also made it to a track meet on Saturday, so hats off to all the people making that work. Teachers, coaches, parents at the concession stand. Great to see everybody out there.
All right. Thank you. Any other reports? Yeah, you can do a double report. Sure, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. I forgot that I actually did attend the the state solo and ensemble performance for Essentials Percussion, which they didn't do as well as they wanted to, but it was still fantastic to get to hear it in the auditorium at Carroll College was really great. They sounded great when they did the performance at Central, but getting to hear it in a better room, it was much more impressive. And that's the same level of excitement as the solo and ensemble at the school as well. I mean, seeing the kids, and they're doing some amazing work in the change ups. I saw they cleared out. It was the fastest teardown and clear out that Miss Gandre had ever seen. And then the next school went in, and we were still standing outside trying to pack up the gear, and they were already loading out. Like the next school was already loading out. It was just gangbusters. So also great experience.
Thank you. Mr. Lee, you have something to share as well?
Indeed, I do. Thank you very much. I was able to attend the FLW Orchestra concert, and I will give myself 66% credit because I only had one child that was participating, but I did listen to the other two grades when they played, and they did a wonderful job, as Mary Pat always ensures that they do. And then I also did attend the State Solo Ensemble. I was able to watch two performances for Hale's two different orchestra groups that made the State Solo Ensemble, which both received a 1 rating. So it was a wonderful experience for everyone involved, and our students definitely were able to represent our district well. I also attended a very large track meet at Whitnall. I'm sorry, at yeah, it was Whitnall, a couple weeks ago, and was able to watch my son participate as well as some of the other runners that were running at the same time. And so the coach does a great job ensuring that our students have a wide range of competition to compete against in Hale track. So just wanted to mention that as well.
All right. Thank you so much. Anyone else? Anyone else? No. No, I figured with all the sports going on, that Ms. Lee would like to just share out
It
that she
took
was
me a minute.
everywhere. Yeah.
It took me a minute. I had to think of where I've been. And it actually wasn't sports school related anyway, but I did pop in at the Nathan Hale prom. And this was the first time I was actually ever able to actually stop in, and those guys know how to have a good time. So kids looked like they were having a great time. They looked amazing. So, and considering the way our weather has been, they got some pretty decent weather. So we were all very happy.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else? No, just me, with, again, probably the 66% because my son also was playing at Frank Lloyd Wright. But yeah, I can't say really any more besides that. You know, watching the middle school do their work is just that microcosm of the larger orchestra events that we have, where you can see the different levels going through there and just seeing each grade and how they transition and how they're just that much better than they were the year before. It's just kind of fun to watch. So I was able to make it to that as well. But if there's nothing else, that'll take us to our other updates. And I don't think at this time I have any other updates. So we will move right into our consent agenda, which includes 10.1, our approval of minutes, 10.2, our employment summary, and 10.3, the supplementary contracts. Does anyone need anything separated? No? Then I would entertain a motion at this time.
Move to approve 10.1, 10.2, 10.3. Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Do I have any questions on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, that passes, and that will take us into our action items of the night, which is going to be 11.1, 11.2, 11.3, 11.4, but these are our Neola bylaw and policy updates. And that'll be led by Dr. Robinson and Mr. Norris.
Sorry, I didn't even know we were ready. We ready?
We're ready.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
So this evening, we're going to go through in our action items 11.1. 11.1 is divided into 3 different sections, though. It's 11.1.1, 11.1.2, and 11.1.3. What we tried to do, I can't take credit. Sarah has played a major part in this. Is trying to get this organized in a way where I figure if I can understand it, then it'll better help me to allow you to understand it. So I tried to break it down as much as I could. For the public, just to give a little clarification, the different sections. So 11.1.1 are what's called 35-1. They are released in November 2025 from Neola, and they all involve special updates, school support organizations, and special updates of Act 57. So that's all 3 of them, but in particular, 11.1.1 is 35.1, which are all revised, new, or replacement policies. Okay. So what I wanted to do is go through a few of these because some of them, I think some have more interest than others. In particular, I wanted to talk about 5136, which is the personal communication devices. This was based on bill that was passed last November that required restriction of technology use by students inside of schools, in particular personal technology use. This it allowed for strict language. However, it does have some loose interpretations where it wants school districts to still have that flexibility to enforce within their means. The good thing about this policy is we were given until July 1st to come up with our own iteration within the statute. So this is where we are right now. The state requires us to create a new policy by the 1st of July. We don't have to create a brand new policy because we already had one in place. So we are revising our policy to fit within. The parts of our current policy that do not fit within the state statute, particular are the wireless technology, which would be any headphones, the glasses that are available now, the Meta glasses, all of that kind of stuff. It's not within the scope of the 2023 version that this board approved, okay? Because of the advancement of technologies. In the 2023 policy, there was already some flexibility around non-instructional time. That's where the cafeteria use comes in at secondary. That will remain because the policy is strictly for instructional time, okay? So I wanted to provide that clarification. What we're trying to do right now is once, if the board approves it tonight, we will have some runway from now until the end of the year to work with our leadership on how to start to kind of get acclimated to what the new life and new standards are going to be as far as the state of Wisconsin are concerned in schools when it relates to personal technology. So there will not be any punishments of sorts right now. We're not looking to that. We're looking to right now to create an environment where kids are not distracted. That's our focus, okay? Our focus is that. And so what we're going to do the remainder of the year is try to work with our school leadership on signage, communication home, conversations with students, teachers, and working on how that looks. And then we'll be prepared for the next school year. In talking with principals this week, I've already communicated that. I was talking with Brian Summerfield today and just trying to make sure we're on the same page, but reassuring that we're not expecting tomorrow you to come in and say, this is the way it is. That's not reasonable, okay? That's not what we're doing. We would never expect anybody to do that. So we're just using it as a runway until the end of the school year to try to make sure we have the message clear and that we're providing some guidance to our schools around that, okay? What I'll do is I'll stop and pause rather for any questions or comments that anybody have in particular on 5135.
Anyone have any questions on 5135?
Was it 35 or 36?
Or 36?
I heard 36, right?
All right. 36. All right. Mr. Lee, we saw you had a question.
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to clarify the addition of the wireless information. This is essentially a requirement of the act that was passed by the state that we have to add this into our current policy.
He was asking if this is a requirement by the state to include the wireless component of our policy.
Correct.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to make it clear.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry. I didn't know if you heard me. Yes, sir. Wireless communication specifically is in there. Now, it's in there where it says wireless communication, but that could be broad right now, okay? So we're trying to use sort of our own interpretation of what that would cover, and that's why we're saying strictly for instructional time. That's where we're no wireless I'm thinking AirPods, I'm thinking the headphones, watches, those kind of things, during the instructional time would not be allowed under this new policy. That's correct.
Okay, yeah, I was just checking to say this is not, we're adding it in more so this is to comply with the new state law.
I'm sorry, that's your question. That's 100%. This is not a Terrence Robinson wants to do this thing. This is, we're trying to get in and to be compliant with Act 42.
Okay, yeah, and the reason I'm bringing it up is because normally we would go through a process communicating with staff and parents and students to see what, what they think would be reasonable, but this is really something where our hands are more tied. So thank you for that.
All right. Any other questions from the board on this one? All right, and then I just for my own clarification, we're kind of piloting what might be happening up until July 1, and then that's when we're going to look at solidifying that for the
Correct.
fall.
If you want to use the word piloting, that's fine. That's an adequate use, adequate word to use right now. Yeah, but I think a lot of the communication will be going home tomorrow
Okay.
with parents to
Mhm.
talk about the action tonight. We already have that prepared.
Mhm.
But yes, it will definitely be a piloting period where we'll work with our principals and our teachers on how to
Communicate.
monitor that and implement that. Yes.
Okay. All right, sounds good. Thank you. Any other questions then? No?
No, so I just
All right.
moved for
Yep, go
motion
ahead.
on 11.1.1.
Okay, you want to separate 1.1 and 1.2 and 1.3?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Then we're gonna look for a motion then at this time for 11.1.1.
Motion to approve 11.1.1.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any adjustments to that motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, 11.1.1 passes. That'll take us to 11.1.2.
11.1.2, these particular policies all are discussing the following topics: student protection, financial transparency and legal compliance, equity and integrity, community involvement with boundaries, district branding and liability protection, as well as support for student leadership. So these particular policies all are in that particular area. The majority of the changes are around crowdfunding practices that we know if we've had to kind of get a hold of as a district and come up with some real system-wide strategies around monitoring that and not getting out of control, because we do not want the district to be on the hook for something that's not following our particular policy. So we had to really make sure that we had these kind of things. There are companies that are popping up left and right that do this. A lot of them do not have great reputation. Some do, but we've limited that which ones that are that we consider to be the more useful for the things that we're doing in our district. So that's the gist. But these are all around crowdfunding, gifts, grants, and requests, school support organizations, as well as relations with non-school affiliated groups. So all of it is around student organizations and funding. Okay, so I move for a motion.
Before we do that, are there any questions on this section and the changes that are? No? All right, then at this time, I would entertain a motion.
Move to approve 11.1.2.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Is there any adjustments to that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, that passes as well. Continuing on our riveting journey, 11.1.3.
11.1.3. There are two policies in particular. Well, actually four, but there's one is broken up into three different subsets. So it's policy 1213, 3213, and 4213. All three deal with student supervision and welfare. And then policy 8642 is child abuse and neglect. These are all revisions to these particular policies, and to be more aligned with the updates of Act 57 from 2025 and Act 57, Act 57 for both of them actually. So these both of these particular changes are getting in line with the policy changes from last year.
Questions on any of that? Mr. Talani?
If I could ask a clarification question on what Act 57 includes in there. So I see it says
Sure.
notification of sexual misconduct reports by 5 p.m. on the same day. So could you expand on that, please?
Yeah, so it Act 57 establishes strict new requirements for school districts regarding notification of parents when a report of sexual misconduct by a staff member is received. Under this law, school boards, private schools, and charter operators must notify the parents of any student alleged to be a victim or target if there's a reasonable cause to suspect the conduct occurred. And the act mandates a timely response requiring notification by 5:00 p.m. the same day if a report is received during school hours.
Can I ask a follow-up? So this is not the person is found guilty of it. There's just a report of it.
This is if someone, if there's something that's happened to your child, the school is required to notify you that there's been an allegation.
Oh, just you, not all parents.
No, it's just the victim.
Okay.
in this particular case.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any further
That's
questions?
from a staff member. Okay, it says a staff member, not anything outside.
Sure. Okay.
All right.
Thank you for the clarifiers. Any questions on that then? All right. Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion for this.
Move to approve 11.1.3.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Is there any adjustment to that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, and that will pass as well, which will then move us on to 11.2. That's you, right, Mr. Norris? Okay, go ahead.
All right, great. Well, thank you. I have a short presentation tonight, but it's an annual item that we've kind of taken up here in May annually around end of year budgets. And so the first meeting in May is kind of historically when we've had this conversation. So I want to walk through our end of the year projection and kind of walk the board through where revenues came in, where expenses are projected, and kind of a target plan to expense up to the budget for the year, and what that would look like. So again, as I kind of said, it's budget amendments are a normal part of the process for us. They occur close to year end, and it's our best guess of where we're going to land. And we're close enough to know where our encumbered expenses are, where our school budgets are, department budgets, payroll are certainly able to project out. And then we have until mid-July to make any end of year transfers for state aid purposes. So it's something that we'll continue to look at. But this is kind of a summary of what that looks like. So you can see in the left, you see the Fund 10 revenues and Fund 10 expenses. All their funds are required to balance. So for budget amendments, we focus purely on Fund 10. You can see what the board approved in October was a balanced budget, 126 million roughly. And you can see, I want to focus on expenses first. Expenses came in very, very close. So had about a little over 700,000 in a surplus just in expenses. And I'll talk about why that is. And our revenues came in. That's the lion's share of the budget surplus today is revenue. So I want to get into that, but I want to show you that, we really did a good job of projecting expenses to the degree that we can. And revenues is the point that I want to focus on tonight. So from an expense perspective, like you might ask, well, where is the 700,000 in expense savings coming from? It's really three things. Equally here, savings from salary and benefits. What that is if there are hiring delays, like someone quits mid-year and we post the position, if that position goes unfilled for 3 or 4 weeks and that person had family benefits, those things can exponentially increase over time, right? You get 7, 8 positions, depending on the length of time, that can end up being a full FT. That could be $80,000, et cetera, right? We had some OPEB benefit savings. That's from our OPEB redevelopment plan. So we projected a higher amount. It came in a little bit less. That's an expense savings. And then utilities were actually less than we thought, given kind of the energy, I wouldn't say crisis, but I'm sure a lot of you have seen increases in your energy bills. We expected the same. It came in less, which is great. That's kind of the expense summary. The revenue piece is that interest rates are really the focal point of this conversation. Interest rates, if you go back to early fall, the conversation from the Fed, a lot of pressure federally was to cut rates, cut rates, cut rates. Well, our projection given our fund balance was that rates were going to be cut and they haven't. And so we've been able to make money off our money. So we projected a little over 700,000 here in interest, and we're going to make another 1.4 on top of that. So really great news there. Additional revenues, we had some technology sales. So when we refreshed equipment, the sale of that technology exceeded the revenues there. We received more money in Medicaid claims, and then we received some delayed UHC credits for our wellness clinic. So that in sum is about 2.7 million, and that's projected at this point, but that's what we're looking at. So kind of a projection here, or a plan that we're looking for the board to give some feedback on and hopefully approve this evening, is the 2.7 million is about 2% of our budget. Okay, just give you some context to the overall summary here. So a lot of money, but a small portion of our budget, right? So we're I guess in comparison to prior years, some of the thinking here is that a portion of it, we've always recommended the board go back to staff, because a portion of these dollars are staff having to backfill for other staff in schools. So we're looking at a $1.6 million for year-end staff bonuses for our staff. We would like to transfer up to $500,000 into our Fund 46 for deferred maintenance. That helps us with state aid and allows us to continue our capital improvement plan. A number of things here in programming additions. So we would like to spend $200,000 for music and tech ed. I want to just read a couple of things from the music department. So $200,000, or it's $100,000 each. Okay. So the $100,000 would be spent on choir risers at Horace Mann, Hoover, Franklin, and Wilson. A new set of keyboards for our FLW orchestra at Hoover, Walker, Mitchell, Irving, Franklin, Wilson, Jefferson, Mann. Some of these words I can't pronounce, so I won't try. Okay, I admit. But just this section of replacement of equipment elementary is about $30,000. And these are things that refreshing the equipment kids use. Not every kid can come with their family producing these. So getting into the buildings, and I've asked Mary Pat to do this, so thank you to her for the work she did after school, to work with staff to get in there and go, what stuff hasn't been touched in 10 years? And so that's some of that. There's also replacement of keyboard dollies, which haven't been replaced in over 10 years. That's $10,000. Orff instrument set of 7 at West Milwaukee is $5,000. New trombones at West Milwaukee and cases. FLW instrument repair, that's $5,000. Amps and speakers, another $2,000. So this list goes on and on, but you can see it's spread wide across the schools. Same thing with technical education. I have a whole spreadsheet here of all the equipment, tools, machines that are needed across the school district, but really focusing on secondary there. The school building equipment purchases, our schools, elementary and secondary, were budgeted at 75%. So when we were projecting a surplus, we reached out to them and said, hey, what are the things you guys need in the buildings? And so these things range from, equipment that's less than $1,000 for money for field trips to, new desks and chairs, things like that. So that's that list that's linked in there. A new gifted and talented curriculum from Melissa's department. And then some facility upgrades here, $40,000 for vape detection systems. That's going to be the actual vape detectors in the bathrooms. That would be installed at Hale and FLW this summer, and then at Central ongoing, because the work for the referendum at Hale and FLW happened this summer. Those will get installed while they're doing that. And then since the bathrooms at Central aren't going to get renovated, we'll have to work through those getting installed this school year, be consistent. Our building radios are just in really bad shape across the district. So Marla's been working across the board on, which are in the worst shape. And we're going to have to get new repeater systems and to things to that extent. So $100,000 really takes a huge chunk of that and addresses that for our schools. And then our 2 vans at Central are in pretty bad shape. So this is actually for 2 not brand new, but slightly used vans, but in really good shape to get those replaced. So that's kind of the ask tonight. And this is an example of the loyalty bonus. You'll notice the amounts don't change, because one of the pieces of feedback we got from the board is that our budget amendments every year come a little bit short. So we end up having a surplus. So you can see that that's actually 1.8. But through this process that we're implementing this year for staff to receive the bonus, they need to acknowledge that. And then the caveat is staff must return for the school year, which is measured by a returned contract or be a retiree. So if someone's resigning at the end of the year, they would not receive this. But if they meet those criteria and acknowledge, they will get that pending your approval tonight. So we actually project that 1.8 is going to come down to about 1.6, which is why those numbers don't match. Just kind of point of reference there. And that's based off historically kind of where that's coming at. So I think with that, pending questions, I'd turn over to President Burns for facilitate questions.
All right. Are there questions from the board about any of these costs and things moving up forward? Sure, Mr. Becker.
I had one question on the new line panels. It
Yes.
seems like we've still been rolling them out. I was curious is this just the last handful of classrooms? Because I wasn't sure. I couldn't recall the exact end date for the rollouts.
Yeah, I overstepped that one, so thanks for bringing that up. So we actually, I think Jody's here, her and Joanna went through the schools, and we realized that we missed a number of schools through the first wave, and so this is going to catch us up so that every school is completed.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the last wave. I think, anything to add on that, Dr. Robinson?
Just to add, I asked the same question. Like I was panicking a little bit. So really and truly, sometimes rooms are repurposed, and so this is to kind of pick up those rooms that have been repurposed, and
Yeah.
now we're using them. We didn't use them at first, and there wasn't a board mounted in that room. So now we have rooms, buildings that are at capacity. So we need every room in some of our buildings that didn't have them before. That's what's happening right now. It's kind of catching up on some of those rooms that we didn't do.
In 105,000 of that is the panels, and 36,000 is carts.
Yeah.
So just for the breakdown of that, so you guys know. Yeah.
Okay. And I'm trying to remember what the carts were. I didn't actually look up what they were. I was curious what that was too.
Yeah. Each cart's.
There's an option. You either have it mounted on a cart so you can move it around, or it's actually.
Oh, okay. I have seen those. I see. Okay. Thank you.
And I got to give it to our IT, our facilities, and then Jody. They actually went, and Jody and Joe, they actually went and met with every principal and met with every teacher to go like, hey, what would work best in this room? What would work best for you? And so we tried the best we can to customize that for the classroom. So that's some teacher preferences in that as well. So, yeah.
All right. Other questions? I believe, Mr. Lee, do you have your hand up?
I do indeed. Thank you.
Mhm.
So I have no issue with any of these suggestions. I would just wanted to make note about the 75% elementary budgets that we had approved for last year. And it seems at this point, we are coming up with a surplus each year. And so I'm just bringing this up now that I hope that in the budget that we're going to look at for next year, that we would try to keep those budgets at 100%. Those funds being used throughout the entire school year, I think serves those schools better than just doing something at the very end. Although I'm glad to see that we're able to do something for those schools that only had 75%. So thank you.
I agree, Mr. Lee. The budget presented a month ago included 100% for next year. So I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree as well. I think just remembering though, last year around September, the funds didn't come in. And so we had to start making some adjustments to make sure that we were able to function. I mean, quite honestly, our title funds were not here yet.
Yeah.
So there was a delay, but because of that delay, I would agree that our budgets need to be at 100%, but it was also trying to figure out if we're going to even make it.
Yeah.
Certainly. Thank you. Other questions about any of this? No? All right. Well, then at this time, I would entertain a motion.
Move to approve, move to approve 11.2, the 25-26 budget amendments.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any adjustment to that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, that passes, Mr. Norris. Thank you.
All right. The next thing I have on here is a resolution approving a permanent easement at Pershing. And so a couple quick things. The easements from We Energies requires board approval authorization for Dr. Robinson to issue that easement. It gives We Energies essentially the authority to go on district property to provide maintenance, to do upgrades. Certainly not just on their own, they let us know, but it allows them to essentially do that without requiring the school district to like turn the key and let us do it, right? So the extent that Pershing is, they already have an easement which brings them from the back of Pershing's building kind of up through the playground, and then there's the alley, if you can picture Pershing, where the staff park. The easement they're requesting is just access to the alley because the district actually owns that property. And so they want to upgrade I guess there's a word I'm missing, the underground cable that goes from the alley up to the school. And they want to install looping cable. So that would get done hopefully this summer they're planning to do. And the thing they had told Steve is that by upgrading that cable, it would allow, if there's power out, the delay in getting that back online is going to significantly cut down. And they even further said, especially with having an elevator get put in. So there's a couple of things they wanted to look at that, and that led to this process. So just for background on kind of how this came to be. So.
All right. Questions on that? All right. Then at this time, I'd entertain a motion.
Move to approve 11.3, resolution approving underground easement at Pershing Elementary School.
Second.
All right. I have a motion and a second. Is there any adjustment to that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those, yeah, wait for the delay. Those opposed? All right, that will pass. Then we will move on to 11.4, our CISA 1 agreement for services.
Good evening. So this is an annual. So for those of you who have been on, this is an annual piece that we need to do in order to take a look at the agreement of services that we have with CISA 1. We do a review each year to determine what exactly is on there, what are projections for what we're going to need for the next year, as well as keeping a bit of a buffer for potential needs for next year. So those have been reviewed, and the agreement that you've been able to take a look at is what we were able to finish with for this year. So our recommendation is for the CISA 1 membership that allows us to take part in all of the services, trainings, many things that occurred throughout the school year. Seats for specialized programs for when we have students who have needs that they may need a placement outside of the school district for a period of time in order to get some intensive services and make their way eventually back to our school district. So that's what Turning Point, New Connections, and Project Success are for different levels of ages of students. And the seats that we have set are, over the years, it's been very consistent throughout the year, how many seats we've needed. It begins where it's like we may have an open seat for part of the year, then at some point if a student needs that. So just so that you're aware that the slot that we do in this agreement, we only pay for if we do end up actually using that designated seat that we have. But this way it holds seats in a sense for us should they be necessary. And then finally, for the educational audiologist who does the audiology exams for our students in order to determine the for deaf and hard of hearing services that our students may need, as we don't have that specifically within our district readily available. So it's a service that they need to provide for us. Any questions about the CISA agreement?
Questions on the CISA agreement? So this is something that we do yearly. I guess, can you speak a little bit to the value that we get from this? Like, is it worth the money that we're spending is essentially?
It's particularly for the seats if we have students who need outside placements in comparison with some of the other places that we use, for example, at Richardson or Genesee Lake. Yes, it's not as intense of a level as those places, but without this, that's where we would have to be going, and those definitely cost more for our students. So to have this as an option to be able to go like potentially as a bridge if necessary is definitely a benefit to us.
No one has one. Mr. Lee, you have a question?
I do indeed. I always ask this in comparison to last year. I know you said it's pretty consistent as far as the seats, but the actual cost of the contract this year compared to last year or years past, is this increased, decreased, about the same?
I mean, at this point, because there were a few items that we had in the past that we don't need any longer, that we were able to reduce, we were able to do a fairly significant decrease for this year because there's other services that we've been able to provide within district.
Okay, that's great information to know. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. Anything else then? All right. Seeing nothing at this time, I would entertain a motion.
Move to approve 11.4, the 2026-27 CISA 1 agreement for services.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any adjustment to that motion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, and that will pass. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you both. And that will take us to our workshop of the Teacher and Learning 612 Social Studies Adoption Workshop. Give you a moment to set up for that. Oh, reel it in, reel it in. All right. Thank you. We're just congratulating people on how they're working here tonight, doing a nice job. Ms. Barrage, you may take it away with your team.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for having us here this evening. We're excited to share with you our process around our social studies resource adoption. I'm going to set us up by just grounding us as a board as well as the community and what this process looks like holistically. So beginning last year, we started to evaluate our resources around social studies as well as that programming. Is it working? Is it not? Are there new courses we need? What does the sequence look like? So that's all part of a curriculum resource and adoption cycle. And then this year, we've spent a lot of time investigating resources, piloting resources, getting feedback from all of our different stakeholders on what resource is best for our 612 students in the area of social studies. And we are coming to you with a recommendation this evening for that. I will say also, just to name, this is a really collaborative process with our finance team as well. So we have these adoption cycles set out for years in advance so we know what ones are coming, what content areas we're going to review, and our teachers know that they can be part of that process too. And then we're aligning it with the state budget so we ensure that we are being really strategic with the resources that we do have. Is also a really highly collaborative process with our content experts, which are our teachers. So we have two of them here with us this evening. We have Miss Jill Miller from Central and Mr. Jason Grabner from West. So they'll be here to provide any context and color to questions that you might have following our short presentation. And then finally, I am going to turn it over to Miss Emma Kelly. She's done a phenomenal job of leading this working committee around our curriculum adoption for 612 social studies and really guiding them to what's best for all of our students in this content area. So without further ado.
Hi, everyone. It's good to see you all. So I'm going to sort of provide a lot of information about our purpose and context. What was our process specifically in this adoption or the piloting? We're going to share our final recommendation. We're going to share teacher feedback and levels of support, and then our budgets and next steps. So
We have Jill and Jason here, but they're a very small part of our very large committee that we had throughout this process. We had at least one person from every school building with this process of both piloting the resources, having discussion about what is top priority for our students. So our purpose, of course, is to select a 612 social studies resource for us to adopt. We wanted to make sure we had alignment to both our Wisconsin state standards and the C3 inquiry framework. And we wanted to make sure that we identified a resource that teachers can implement with fidelity. So although I am new to us this past August, we started in October with this process where I started to meet with representatives from various resources. And then our committee met for the first time in November, where we made sure we talked about outcomes of this resource. What did we really want to emphasize for the next several years? And then we had our first training by HMH, and teachers began piloting HMH starting in December and through January as well. In January, they also were then trained in SAVAS so that they could begin piloting in February. And then in March, they had a very brief training originally with McGraw-Hill. And then when we met as a committee in April, teachers requested more time with McGraw-Hill. So between that and our decision making, we met with the board committee to share our findings and where we were at with the process. And then April 30th, we got together for the last time to decide on McGraw-Hill as the final recommendation.
Can you just add why McGraw-Hill was more of a brief training?
Sure. Yeah, McGraw-Hill has been the resource that our secondary social studies teachers have used for many years at this point. So it was originally brief because teachers they've used this resource, right, for many years. But there's a lot of updates, which we'll be able to share with you all. And so they wanted more time to dig into that. So this is the criteria that we used as a committee to make our final decision. This is something that the district uses, right, as to make these decisions. We really focused on our alignment, our emphasis on deeper learning with collaboration and problem solving. What are the scaffolds and supports look like for multilingual students who receive services with an IEP, students who are gifted and talented. We wanted to make sure our materials were culturally relevant and representative of our diverse student body. The content is able to be delivered within a reading appropriate grade level, that we're able to progress monitor, included both online and paper materials. And then on the right-hand side, you can see just sort of the content-specific focus that our committee decided was really important in this process. So that included the inquiry framework, opportunities to produce both projects and argumentative writing, focus on disciplinary literacy and diverse narratives and perspectives. And the last bullet point, I'm not sure why I skipped it, is we wanted to focus on that professional development and what was available to teachers. So after teachers piloted each resource, I took the district criteria, and I had them rate their support of each of the criterion from a scale of 1 to 4. So this hopefully visually captures where teachers sort of landed in each of the categories, and then their average at the end. So although Savas and McGraw-Hill were close, McGraw-Hill did come out on top with a 3.25 average support. So our strengths and limitations or our considerations, every resource was a strength, had some strengths, and every resource had some areas of consideration. Where HMH, the teachers really liked the visuals and the writing, the big idea framing. Their considerations were there were not a lot of differentiation tools for teachers to use, and it would have been a really high implementation lift from based on their experience. Savas had strengths in primary sources and scaffolds. Their navigation was really easy for the digital platform. But their considerations were we would need a lot of support with actual lesson structure, and there were some complicated tech pieces that teachers experienced. McGraw-Hill had strengths in the standards and inquiry alignment. They also had strengths in primary sources and goal alignment, clear and aligned assessments, and we would be able to provide higher teacher support because of the cost, which I'll go into in a few slides. There are considerations which I have since been able to connect with McGraw-Hill to sort of figure out how we can tackle these considerations, is pacing concerns, that the text is difficult, could be difficult, more rigorous, and that we would need planning support as well. So in addition to having teachers review and sort of assess their each of the resources, I also asked for teacher feedback on the selection process itself. So I had a Google form where I asked teachers to share, do they feel like their input was heard, was listened to? Do they feel like they understood the criteria? And what was their overall confidence in the group's ability to make a final decision? I highlight this because McGraw-Hill as the final decision, coupled with the average, we want to stamp that we trust this group to make the decision, supports the final recommendation. So our final recommendation is to adopt McGraw-Hill Social Studies for grades 6-12. The areas of consideration is that its materials are similar to what we use. They are what we use. Now that's also a strength, right? Because teachers are able to more easily access those materials digitally. But there were other strengths as well, including while the text was rigorous, there are also reading checks throughout the text to make sure that teachers can understand exactly what the students understand about the text. There are thorough materials, lots of teacher resources digitally, and they would provide it paper as well. It allows for a more unified middle school, high school experience, collaboration during PD. In every grade level, there's a historical unit, so teachers could really focus on what are those reading, writing, listening, speaking skills that historians need, and they can teach that to their students. And it's easier to edit and share out with their collaborative teams as well. And so I know we had this adoption or this resource previously, but it is very different from their last copyright, which was in 2014. They just recently updated their copyright in 2024. And so here are some of those differences. They have kind of transitioned away from teacher talks, student listen, and sort of rote memorization of key wars and dates and people, and more into that inquiry focus. There is now a digital platform and a lot of personalization. There is content customization with a lot of inclusivity with the resources. And they have a lot of support with literacy, with reading and writing. They have a lot available for teachers to use for their potentially struggling readers. And lastly, there's a lot of ability for us to provide support, coaching with the implementation. So for the professional learning, on that first column, they have a lot of workshops that they provide, but they've also shared that they can sort of create professional development based on what we need as a district. And so that goes into the follow-up training and ongoing support. We would provide schools with coaching with the new resource. And given the affordability of the resource, we would be able to provide even more professional development and support throughout the year. So here is the overall cost for McGraw-Hill. We were dubbed a legacy school, a legacy district. So a lot of the resources that we need were free from McGraw-Hill. So you'll see that some of the resources that are highlighted, it's both paper, physical textbooks, as well as online licenses for both students and teachers. We also anticipate because we're able to provide a lot more coaching, we have an anticipated cost of around $50,000 for professional development based on what our teachers need. And then this is a calendar of the next 6 months of support for teachers. You'll see that it starts in June I have teacher previews scheduled, every other week starting June 3rd to get teachers into the resource itself. I have administrator preview sessions so the administrators can know exactly what they're looking for in the classroom. And then we have those district-wide PD days as well as some projected school-based coaching days as well. And this is just would be our next steps. Finalize the purchase and contract, make sure our summer PD planning is ready to go. And then August 26th would be our implementation launch.
We'll hand it back to you, President Burns.
Thank you. Questions from the board here about this plan and the process or comments? All right, Mr. Lee, I think you'll be first up.
Here I go again. First and foremost, thank you for negotiating this contract so it doesn't look like we're getting nickel and dimed. It looks like we're getting everything that we should with the amount of money that we are spending. I had a question about the PD. So obviously, professional development on a new resource is critical to ensure that we can get the most out of that resource so our students can succeed. Do we have any, like, I don't want to say knowledge checks, but like, do we check in with the staff after those PD days to see how comfortable they feel with the new resource to ensure that we're not leaving someone out on an island with this new resource because they don't want to speak up or they weren't given an opportunity to speak up, that they didn't quite feel like they got enough of that professional development to be able to utilize this to the best that it can be used?
I will start that, Mr. Lee, and then hand it off to Emma if she has anything to add. I'm just thinking about our most recent adoption of Carnegie for math, and I would say we're constantly in conversation with teachers, teacher teams, instructional coordinators, and our principals and leadership teams around the resource. Where are they having barriers? How can we fill those gaps? And for the math adoption in particular, Alicia Benetti has created a lot of resources to take that planning lift off of teachers in that year one implementation, so that they do have a significant amount of guidance. That being said, I don't know if there's anything, actually, I'll pause there. Emma, if you want to add anything.
The one thing I'll add is that this past year with math, we've also had instructional coordinators really push in with math teachers. And so the goal would then to also have them push in with social studies, both in collaborative teams and on in one-on-one coaching cycles.
Mm-hmm.
So that sounds good to me. I guess I was looking, I guess I was inquiring to see if there was any sort of like pulse check after those PD days with the staff that took it to just get kind of some immediate feedback like give me a 1, 2, or 3, how comfortable I am doing this. So then you as administration would have an idea how effective that PD was. I'm glad to see that there's like ongoing support. That's wonderful. But I just didn't know if there was kind of like after you have a full day PD or something on a new resource, if immediately after that you ask for kind of feedback on that PD.
Yes, sorry if I was, I didn't anticipate that that's what you were asking about, Mr. Lee. Yes, so we have feedback that we give surveys to all district staff on professional learning days, and it's alignment with our goals as a district, but also with Carnegie in particular, with a year one adoption, there's additional surveys that those staff also take and give feedback on. So yes, there are also quantitative measures in place.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
All right. Mr. Talani, I saw your hand come up.
So I was at the committee meeting where we discussed this, and McGraw-Hill was still being piloted. And one of the comments, Emma, you made is that initially the staff was not very key on McGraw-Hill, and they kind of just came in last minute. So I want to hear from both of you, like what changed from I don't really like this curriculum, because as an educator, I understand that feeling, to now looking at this new one, it's like, oh, okay, I'm happy with McGraw-Hill. So
given excuse me, given more time with the McGraw-Hill, we were able to utilize it better, but also in our team, the conversation of getting this unification of the middle school and high school so that we can really leverage our professional educators was a real significant thing that both the high school and middle school talked about. I'm lucky Jill was actually my teacher at Central, so I get a great opportunity to sit next to her and be part of this team.
Yeah, you can add, Jeff.
McGraw-Hill was not my first choice, but it was the committee's first choice. And so, so that's what we're going to be going with. I think it has what our school district needs. It has the basics. I personally, I preferred some of the other resources. I felt that it provided more engagement among students, but my colleagues over at Hale really didn't feel that way, didn't find that. So, I mean, I think it'll work fine. We're using it currently. But the teachers at Hale really, I think, engaged with it quite a bit. How did they feel at the middle school?
Both resources were very good,
But they preferred McGraw-Hill. So, okay, so like if it will provide continuity between the middle school and the high school, I think that's also something that's very beneficial. So that's what the committee recommended. So that's what I'm going with.
And then my other question was around just, I understand the rigor in the readings and that's obviously good to have, but just supports around our students, our EL students. I know you talked about there's some supports built in there, so I just want to kind of hear a little bit more about that / kind of emphasize that we should think about our ELs when it comes to rigorous subjects like this. And I will say, as someone whose English was not my first language, history was not my favorite subject just because of the rigor in the reading. So.
Yeah, that's something that was absolutely front of mind during this adoption process. All student versions of this text, they do come in Spanish. I know that Spanish is not like the only language that our students speak. Digitally, all students can translate. I believe there's about 15 other languages that the digital version allows students to translate the text to. And also, because McGraw-Hill knows that a lot of the resources, a lot of teachers like prefer it physically rather than digitally. They have a lot of MLL trainings that we could pull as a workshop for teachers as well.
I also heard, and I believe when you started your presentation, didn't you mention listening, speaking, writing, all of those? I could have swore you did.
Mm-hmm.
Those are direct connections to the MLL strategies that our kids have to obtain. So access is the test that they take. Those are categories that they'll be graded on. So there's a direct link with that resource and the access test that our students have to take for MLL.
Thank you. Other questions from the board? Ms. Carr.
So I just have to, I have to just say that I love that there's a process and I love that you followed the process. And I think that you did your due diligence, but it has always been my experience that no matter what we do, there are many staff teachers that will say, ooh, this resource, yuck. Like I really don't think this is it. It's got so many gaps. It's not doing what we needed to do. And we historically get a lot of complaints once we've gone through all of this, and then it comes to the board and we say, okay. And so what will you do when staff gives you that feedback?
Again, I'll start because you're right. No resource is perfect. And I see the resource as a foundation within the curriculum. But it's not what makes Jill's class come to life, right? And thinking of what was just brought up around ML supports, that's going to be not only in the resource, but how we use effective research-based teaching strategies to get students to access the resource. And so I think that bringing as many people along in the process is important. I'm glad that Jill's here, and I'm glad that she shared what she did because she's part of the process. She also now knows kind of the strengths of McGraw-Hill and maybe some of the considerations. So when she sits in collaborative planning with her team, she's going to be able to guide and support that team better because she now almost has a little extra time, right? Having piloted the new resources. So I think you can't, I don't think there's ever going to be a way to, I don't want people to not say what they're thinking. I would rather know I'm frustrated by this. I don't like the assessments, or I don't think there are enough scaffolds in this way, because that's good feedback for us to be able to wrap around a resource and support teachers through that. I think even in the piloting process, all of the considerations where we kind of got feedback from teachers in the committee, Emma went back and talked to all of the 3 reps again, and some of those things can be resolved, or we just didn't know that it was possible. And that was a big hindrance for some folks to get behind a certain resource. And so I do think it's going to be ongoing conversations, it's going to be ongoing feedback. I do think the professional learning also just makes we want our teachers to feel confident and competent in what they're teaching. And when you have a new resource and that's brand new to you, that's obviously going to put our teachers in a more vulnerable place. And so I think having side-by-side coaching from people in our buildings, but also from the resource themselves, we found to be incredibly helpful through adoption cycles we've done.
Okay. Other questions from the board? No? Okay. And then when is this going to be coming before us for actual consideration?
This will be coming forward next week
Okay.
for approval, because then that does give us a nice window to be able to collaborate and get materials here. And as Emma shared, we'll be doing previews with teachers before school is even out. So for folks that, the summer is the summer and they need time, and they aren't going to be as available, they at least can ease some of their own concerns and start to see what the resource does look like in its newest, best form.
Okay. No other questions? Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right, so that takes us to the end of our open session portion of the meeting here for the moment. So at this time, the board will convene into executive session in accordance with Wisconsin Statute 19.85, Parent 1, Parent C, for the purpose of considering employment, promotion, or compensation of the superintendent. Sarah, would you call roll? Gentlemen?
Mr. Lee,
Yes.
Mr. Tolani,
Yes.
Mr. Verbos,
Yes.
Ms. Deal,
Yes.
Ms. Lee,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yep.
Mr. Becker,
Yes.
Ms. Carr,
Yes.
President Burns.
Yes. All right. If there is no objection, we will recess for 5 minutes while the boardroom is set up for closed session. Seeing none, we will recess for 5 minutes.
Hold over screen.
All right. So then, Sarah, would you call the roll?
Ms. Carr,
Yes.
Ms. Deal,
Yes.
Mr. Tolani,
Yes.
Mr. Lee,
Yes.
Mr. Becker,
Yes.
Ms. Lee,
Yes.
Mr. Verbos,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
President Burns.
Yes. All right. So we are back in open session and we have one last thing to do, which is I would entertain a motion to act on what we talked about in closed session.
Move to approve the amended items for the superintendent's salary as discussed in closed session.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion or adjustment to that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, that will pass. And so there being, oh, hang on, sure I say it right. There being no further business and no objection, the meeting will be adjourned at this time. No further business and no objection. We are adjourned. Thank you.